So let's take a breath together as we begin to look at what's happening for us today. We are continuing, of course, with our theme, Life is for Living, Just Say Yes. But you know, I didn't realize that life was going to be such high intensity living. Feels really high intensity right now. It's like really, really high intensity is what we're experiencing right now. And with all the change that's going on, we're beginning to really start to look for the gift in all this change that's happening, because everything around us is beginning to change. And we have to be in a place where we can just learn to just go with it, just go with the flow, just be a part of that change, just be, as I said last week, a bridge to that change and be the bridge of change. And as we do that, sometimes we get caught up in all kinds of stuff, get caught up in all the things that are going on, because things are happening so fast, and it seems to be one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing. It's sometimes kind of hard to keep up. And so my topic today is just stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. And as usual, I wasn't sure what that meant when I wrote that topic out and gave it to Nicole some weeks ago. And as I'm going through my life now, I just recognize that that is just a mantra that I have to have for myself, and that I'm inviting you to use for yourself also. You know, I had an opportunity to use it on Friday. My email was hacked, and I didn't realize what had happened. I was getting all these weird emails saying that messages had not been delivered, and at one point I had 38 messages saying that messages that I sent to different people had failed, and that's my personal email that I don't use that often, so I was quite surprised by that. So I called my email provider, and I told them what had happened, and they told me that my email had been hacked and that I needed to change to a new system that they had, a new platform that they had. And I didn't really want to change that. I wanted to keep the same email that I've had, email system that I've had for the last 15 years. And he said, well, we don't have that one any longer. Yours is obsolete now, and we have to switch you over to a new one so that you can be up to date and so that you won't be hacked like you've been now. So I said, okay. I took a deep breath and I decided, all right, I'm moving into technology, trying not to do it kicking and screaming, but I'm moving slowly into technology, and I'm going with it. And he said it would take I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to lose any emails that I had saved. And he said, no, that it would take 2 or 3 days for them to migrate over, but that everything would come over with my new email. So fast forward a few days later, almost a week later, actually, and I went back to my email, my personal email, to see whether or not it was working yet. And when I clicked on the page and got ready to sign in, it said Microsoft Office 365. I didn't know what that meant. So I said, well, this must not be right. So I turned it off and decided I would just ignore it. You know, you ignore it. I played ostrich. You ignored it, it would just go away. So I went back to it, and I tried it out the next day, and it did the same thing, Microsoft Office 365. And it had all these icons up there for Outlook and Mail and Calendar and Friends and just different things. I think there were 10 icons up there. And I had no idea what any of that meant. And so I turned it off again, and then I turned it back on. And it was still there. It wouldn't come back to the usual page that I signed in on for my personal email. So I finally decided to call the provider and find out what was going on. And so I called, and this young man answered the phone, and he was so nice. And I told him what was going on, and he said, well, that's your new email. This is the way that it looks. And he said, you just have to, this Microsoft Office 365 is the platform or whatever the name is for it that we use now. And I said, but I don't want that. I want the email that I had before. And he said, we don't have the one you had before. And I said, I want to switch back to the one I had. I had that email for 15 years. And he said, well, ma'am, I'm really sorry. We don't have that one any longer, but this is the new one. And I said, I just don't want a new one. Let me tell you something right now. I said, I'm going to apologize to you in advance because I am very, very upset. I'm very, very frustrated. I don't want to learn how to use a new email system. I've been using this email for 15 years. I don't want to learn anything new. Do you know I'm learning how to use Zoom right now? Do you know I have Zoom meetings all day? Do you know and I just went on and on and on. And I could hear this voice in my head saying, just stop it. Just stop it. And he was saying, ma'am, you're being very nice. I just really, I understand your concern. And I said, I've already apologized to you. I'm not upset with you personally, but I'm really, really upset. And I want my old email back. And I just went, I went on for a long time. And he was so nice. And he was trying to tell me how nice I was. I felt so sorry for him that I carried on about that email. And he told me that no, he could not give me the old one back, but he could help me learn how to use a new one. And I said, I don't want to learn anything new. Do you know how much I have to learn right now? And then I started all over again. Oh, it was embarrassing. I was home by myself. I was really glad that I was home alone. But I just kept hearing this voice in my head saying, just stop it. Just stop it. And then he had the nerve to put me on hold with music. And I was prepared to just really assault him when he came back, to tell him how much I dislike music on hold. And I finally heard the voice saying, just stop it. Just stop it. So when he came back, I didn't say anything about music on hold. I just decided that I would take a deep breath. And I would say to him again how nice he was, how patient he was. And if he could if he gave me that little survey after we finished, I would tell the people that he was a genius and that he deserved a raise for dealing with me. And so he said, well, I won't get a raise, but I would appreciate it if you would fill out the survey. I said, absolutely, I will. And you know, afterwards, I just sat there and thought about how I was feeling, how I was responding, how really, really nice that young man was who talked to me. And I wasn't attacking him. That's not the way I do things. But I was just venting my frustration, and I kept saying to him, I'm really not venting this at you. It's just that I need to talk about Zoom and how long it took me to get that going and how long it took me to get a new modem in my house. And I started with that again, and I just realized that, you know what, just stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. And I wonder how many of us are feeling that way today with all the things that are going on in the world, all the things that we have to learn that are new, all the ways that we've done things all our lives, all of our adult lives, or in the last few years, or whatever the case may be. We're not doing any of those things now. Everything is new. Everything has changed. Everything continues to change. And the change is happening so fast, it seems like we can hardly keep up. And there's always something new for us to learn. There's always something different for us to do. And at some point, you just have to say, just stop it. Just stop it. Not that we can stop anything outside ourselves, but we can stop the way that we are reacting or responding to things. And I wasn't responding about my email. I was reacting. I was just very, very frustrated. I was just I just was very, very resistant. I just didn't want to learn anything new. I didn't want to learn anything else. And, you know, I finally just had to just take a deep breath and just step back. I had to take a deep breath and just step back and just really figure out what's going on with me now. Why am I so upset? Why am I so outraged about this email? What's going on with me now? And you know, underneath all that is still all that emotional stuff that I've been dealing with, all the emotional stuff we all have been dealing with. As the reading talks about self-awareness, just becoming aware of what we're feeling, becoming aware of the things we're dealing with, becoming aware of the things that upset us, becoming aware of what we believe, becoming aware of how our beliefs are changing or how our beliefs are being dismantled, or how all our lives seem to be dismantled. The way we move through this world seems to be dismantling. And so how is that affecting me? How is that affecting each of us? And I had to just really, as I took that step back, I had to just really look at what's going on. What's going on with me? And it's still the grieving. It's still the grieving. There's grief that I feel when I come in here on Sunday mornings, and there are 5 of us in here. When I'm used to seeing the sanctuary full, I'm used to seeing the faces of our community, of our congregation, of our friends, of our loved ones here on Sunday mornings. That's grief-inducing, not having that experience that we've had for so long, for so many years. And I haven't been here as long as some of you, and I'm sure you must be experiencing some of the same thing. Some of the same thing. And underneath that also is fear. Just fear about where do we go from here? What's going to happen next? What's going to be the next thing? How long will it be before we come back? How long will it be before the next thing, the next big thing happens, the next blow up happens? You know, all those kinds of things are fueling our emotions and fueling our reactions when we are reacting to things that are going on, rather than responding. I wasn't in a place of responding. When we are in a place of responding, we are in a place of being conscious and consciously aware of how we are dealing with the things that come up, rather than lashing out. Just being in a place of coming from the inside out, rather than from the outside out. That was how I was responding. That's how I was reacting. And so I invite you to start to look at what's happening for you. What's happening in your life? What are you reacting to? And there's so much going on for us to react to. There's so many things that are happening every moment. Sometimes I'm afraid to turn the TV on because I don't know what the next story is going to be. I don't know what the next thing is going to be that's going to happen. And there are some things that affect me a lot. And a lot of things affect me, but there's some things that affect me personally and affect me in a way that I had forgotten about, different things that I didn't remember any longer. And it brings up a lot of things, a lot of old memories, as I said last week. A lot of old memories are coming up. A lot of flashbacks are coming up. A lot of awareness is happening of things that I had lost an awareness of. And now all of this is staring me in the face again. And I'm sure that that's happening for many of you, that's staring me in the face again. You know, one of the things that happened this week, I saw a news report night before last, I think it was, that Walmart and Walgreens was now going to start unlocking multicultural hair products. And I was looking at that going, unlocking multicultural hair products. Oh, that means unlocking black hair care products. And for a moment, I didn't understand what that meant. And then I remembered all of a sudden that for many years, when you go into a store and looking for black hair care products, they're locked up behind a screen or behind a shield. And you would have to go up to the counter and ask for them, and then they unlock the counter and then sell whatever it is we wanted. I had forgotten about that because my hair has been short for so long, I didn't need the products that they were locking up. But just the idea that I had gotten used to that. I had gotten, some things have become part of the fabric of our society, so much so that things become normal. We normalize so many things that are unusual. And so that had become normalized. I have walked in the stores around here since I've been in Phoenix, and I've seen those products locked up. It never even dawned on me that was an unusual thing, that was something that was out of the ordinary, that was something that should not be tolerated. But that never occurred to me because I was used to seeing it. I've been seeing it for years. It's been my experience for years that black hair care products are locked up. And when I became aware of that this week, as I was going through all these awarenesses, there was some anger, there was some sadness, there was some regret that I had forgotten that I had forgotten about that. And so then I had to really just take a breath and just say, you know what? Just be with all these feelings, be with all these remembrances, be with all these awakenings that I'm having right now. And so that's what I'm asking you to do. Just stop it if you're starting to beat up on yourself for what you don't remember, or beat up on yourself for what you didn't know, or beat up on yourself for whatever the case may be. Take a breath. That's the first thing we have to do as we walk through this time. As we're learning new things, as we're seeing new things, as we're seeing old things, as we are seeing things that have been going on forever, we have to just take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. That's the first thing we need to do. Take a breath. We don't need to stop breathing. We need to stop reacting. And in order to stop reacting, we take a breath, and that breath gives us an energetic step back. That breath gives us a chance to reconnect to our source. That breath gives us a chance to reconnect to spirit, to that part of us that is unchanging, that part of us that is always right where we are, that part of us that is always anchored within us, that part of us from which we can never be separate. That's what we want to do. We take a breath and we return to center. We return to spirit. We return home. We return home to that from which we can never be separate, as I said before, to that within whose image and likeness we are made. We have to return there and get anchored. And taking a breath allows us to do that. And at taking a breath, then we stop our involvement, our emotional involvement in all the stuff that's happening out there. We have to take a breath. We have to take a step back. We have to take a step back. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do. If you're right in that place now where your mind is going crazy and you and your thoughts are going crazy and things that you're saying, you're lashing out or you're being upset and you're doing all kinds of things, headed down that rabbit hole that you get into on Facebook and other social media, we have to just take a breath and step back. Take a breath and step back and just stop it. Just stop it. And after we do that, then give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Yes, there are many things you did not know. There may be many things you never paid any attention to. There may be many things you may never have been aware of. Many things that you are learning now about our world, about our country, about the way that we live in this world, about the way that some people live differently than others, about inequality, about racism, about injustice on all kinds of ways. There's some things that some people didn't know, some people weren't aware of. But give yourself a break and not beat up on yourself because you should have known. Don't should all over yourself. Beat up on yourself because why didn't I know? Why didn't I see? How didn't I? Well, you know what? You didn't. But right now, we're in a place of awakening. Right now, we're in a place of taking the blinders off, because so many people have walked through this world with blinders on. And now is the time to take them off. Now the blinders are off. Now what are we going to do? Now the blinders are off. And so rather than beating up on yourself, rather than wallowing in guilt, rather than wallowing in shame, rather than doing all that, it's just a matter of giving yourself a break, taking a breath, giving yourself a break, and deciding how you're going to move forward. Deciding how you're going to move forward from this place. What can I do now? What can I do now? And the question really that has come to me a lot from other people during these last couple of weeks, particularly this past week, many people are saying, what can I do? How can I respond to this person saying this on Facebook? How can I set people straight when they say this particular thing? How can I do whatever? And you know what? That's not mine to answer because I don't know. I don't know. But there is that divine intelligence within each of us that knows exactly what needs to be done, knows exactly what needs to be said, knows exactly what type of response needs to be had, knows exactly what needs to happen to navigate our way through this time of change, navigate our way through these perilous waters, because that's what it feels like, perilous waters that we're navigating our way through. And so what our question really has to be is, how can I serve? How can I serve? Not what must I do? What can I do? How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve the vision of equality? How can I serve the vision of equal justice? How can I serve the vision of oneness? How can I serve in this situation? How can I serve? How can I serve? That's our question. How can I serve? Because you know what? It really is about service. It really is about service. It's not about doing. It's about service. How can I serve my purpose for being here on this planet? What is my purpose for being here on this planet? How am I to express God's love? How am I to be that vehicle for God's love to be expressed? How can I serve the vision? How can I serve the purpose of my life? And the way that we get the answer to that question is by returning unto God. By returning unto God, by turning within, by really coming to that place of center, by centering down, by recognizing that the only thing that needs to be healed is our sense of separation. And that what we are looking at out in the world today is a sense of separation. We're looking at that separation. And what we want to do is to come back to that place of oneness in our own lives. How can I serve the vision of oneness? How can I serve the vision of love? Ernest Holmes says that joy must go out to meet joy. Love must go out to meet love. And you know what? Love must go out to meet love. Peace must go out to meet peace. Whatever we put out, that's what we meet when we're headed out. And so making sure that our hearts are open, making sure that our minds are clear, making sure that our intentions are pure, making sure that we are doing what it takes within our own selves, within our own being, within our own awareness to practice oneness, to live in oneness within ourselves. You know, just as the reading was saying that self-awareness is not enough. And self-awareness is really important because you can't do anything else until you become self-aware. And so becoming aware of what's going on with us is a really important thing, but it's the first step. Self-awareness is that first step. Self-awareness, becoming aware of our feelings, becoming aware of our beliefs, becoming aware of what we're saying, becoming aware of what we're thinking, becoming aware of all this stuff, that's the first step. And self-awareness then can lead us to right action. Because self-awareness has a second component, that is self-expression. That is self-expression. So how are we going to be in self-expression? How are we going to express in this world? How are we going to let that self with the capital S express in and through and as our very lives? How are we going to show up in the world? How are we going to show up? And so rather than just doing something for the sake of doing something because it makes you feel good to feel like you're doing something, you know, people who want to just respond, I mentioned Facebook because people bring that to me a lot. Things that they see on Facebook that really upsets them. They really want to set somebody straight and they really want to do this. It's like, why? Why? How does that serve? What does that do? Except for a moment, assuages your ego. You know, the ego wants to fight. The ego wants to tell somebody else. The ego wants to be engaged. What if you just take a step back and allow spirit to show you what it is that's supposed to be your next step, how it wants to express through you, as you. How does spirit want to express in this moment? I'm becoming self-aware. I'm becoming aware now. How can I be a place for self-expression? And that's the capital S, self. That God self, that spirit self, that divine intelligence that already knows how it wants to express, that divine intelligence that already knows your purpose for being here, that divine intelligence that already knows that it can express perfectly in and through and as you, in and through and as me. But it can't do that until I'm open until I'm receptive to it, until I'm willing to allow it to express. I'm willing to be available to it. I'm willing to say yes to it. I'm willing to allow it to live its life fully and completely through me, as me. And to the degree that I block it in any way, to the degree that I set up any kind of resistance, to the degree that I fight it, to the degree that I am getting caught up in all the angst, just stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it and take a deep breath. Just stop it and give yourself a break. Just stop it and ask the question, how can I serve? How can I serve this day? And you know that service is one of our 7 sacred practices here. I'm inviting you to really look at that throughout this week. How can I serve right now? Is what I'm thinking serving the cause of oneness? Is the tenor of my thoughts serving the cause of healing the sense of separation? Is what I'm about to say or what I've been saying, is that serving the cause of oneness? Is that serving the cause of love? Are these words that I'm sending out, is that love going out to meet love? Is that peace going out to meet peace? Is that harmony going out to meet harmony? Is that joy going out to meet joy? If not, just stop it. If not, just stop it. Take a deep breath, get back to center, and then start again. Start again with the question, how can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve the cause of the divine? How can I serve the cause, the greater good for all of us? Because we're all in this life together. We're all in this life together. We're all here together. And we all came in here the same way, and we all leave the same way. And what we do in between times is where we get into that whole separation thing. And so I'm inviting us now to let that go. Just stop it. Just stop this separation. Just stop this otherness. Just take a deep breath. No matter what you've done in the past, give yourself a break. And look at how can I serve? How can I put one foot in front of the other and serve? Serve the cause of love. Serve the cause of oneness. Serve the cause of justice. Serve the cause of the divine. And that's always love. That's always the greater good. How can I serve the cause of the greater good? That's our question for the week. How can I serve? And then allow ourselves to be in that place of receiving the guidance, because that guidance is always available to us. It is always waiting right here to show us when we are available to it. And so anything else that comes up, just stop it. Take a deep breath and come into a place of center, and come into a place of oneness, and come into a place of availability, and come into a place of openness, and come into a place of yes. 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 Let's turn within. As we turn within in this moment, just taking a breath. Just taking a breath, recognizing that there's but one power, recognizing that there's but one life, recognizing there's but one breath, there's but one presence, there's but one mind, there's but one life. One. That one is everywhere present. That one is all-knowing. That one is. It just is. And that isness, that is that one, is my very life. It is the life of each of us. It is the source of each of us. It is first cause. It is that from which I can never be separate, because it is always, always, always right where I am, because I'm made in his image and in his likeness, and out of God's stuff itself. The same truth that I know for myself, I know for all of humankind, that everything is God, that it's all God, that's the only life, the only power, the only presence, that God is all there is. This is the truth that I know. God is all there is. And this allness that is God is my life. This allness that is God is my life. My breath, it breathes me. It is closer to me than hands and feet, nearer than my heartbeat, my breath, because it is my heartbeat. And so knowing this truth, I speak a word of healing for each of us this day. I speak a word of healing as we release and let go of the small stuff. We release and let go of the big stuff. Release and let go of that which does not serve. Release and let go of that which keeps our hearts closed. Release and let go of that which would block us from experiencing the allness and the fullness of this power and this presence that is our very life. We release anything that would clog our thinking. release anything that would get us caught up in distractions that would hold us back. We open our hearts, we open our minds, and we allow that divine guidance to move us forward easily and effortlessly. I speak a word for anyone who's experiencing loss this day, who's grieving that sense of loss, knowing that right where each of them is, God is, and that God is the great comforter, easing pain, comforting broken hearts. Anyone experiencing physical illness, physical discomfort this day, God is in the midst of everything. And healing is happening to every body temple, every cell, organ, tissue, function of our bodies is experiencing that healing presence of God, that radiant presence of God. Anyone who is suffering financial loss or sense of lack and limitation, I know that God is in the midst of everything, and that abundance and prosperity and all needs are being met each and every moment of each and every day. For God shows up as the thing itself, as needs fulfilled in each moment of each day. I speak a word of blessing for anyone needing a prayer this day. Just knowing the right where each of them is, God is blessing and keeping them. No matter what the circumstances may be, no matter what the name may be, no matter what the situation may be, God is in the midst of it. This is the truth that we return to over and over and over again. That God is in the midst of everything. So this prayer goes out this day to anyone on this planet needing a prayer. And I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak their names silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each one is, blessing and keeping them. I know indeed that all is well, for I know indeed that all is God. And I simply say thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you, Divine Mother. Thank you, Infinite Presence. I'll just simply allow it to be now. And so it is.